Hello there, and welcome to the Stay Off My Lawn podcast, where we'll have a little fun, lots of laughs, and discussions on the common sense that needs to be applied to a lot of today's world news issues. And now, the disclaimer. Stay Off My Lawn is not intended as legal, medical, or financial advice. Void where prohibited. No purchase necessary to win. Open to legal U.S. residents 18 or over in the contiguous 48 states. Any resemblance to anyone living or deceased is purely coincidental. Actual price may vary. Only use as directed. Not a member of FDIC. And now, here are your hosts, Mike and Richard.
Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Stay Off My Lawn. It is a laughable Wednesday. It is May 29th, 2024, and this is episode 68. Same age as Richard will be 2 months from now.
Yeah, we're moving on up here, and you will be having fun to wear out another decade just like you did the last one.
Yes.
In the same month.
That's right. When's your birthday in July? July what?
28.
Okay, mine's the 11th. So, yeah, we're both have we will have our birthday extravaganza for the month of July.
Oh no, Steve will. Any excuse to have a little peppy during work time. Steve's having a good time.
He thinks every week is a BYOB week anyway.
Yeah, we're making fun of you. Just shut up and do your job. Okay. Yeah, we talk to our employees quite well.
Yes, we do. We do. It's kind of savage.
He's on the other side of the glass. My door's locked. He can't get me.
Oh, there you go. Oh my gosh! You know when he drinks though, things calm down a little bit in here, so I don't really mind. He turns our mics on and we're good. So
and then leaves us alone, which is always a good idea because we don't have a problem babbling.
And I put the clips in the right order for him, so all he's got to do is hit the button, and he's going to be
there.
Right.
We go.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, just to let you know, happy National Flip-Flop Day. And I'm not referring to politics. These are the little rubber things you put on your footsies.
Yeah, we got way too many flip-flops in the Senate and House anyway. But yeah, you think about National Flip-Flop Day, and I've seen this way too often at Walmart. Anyway,
oh, Lord.
If your feet look like you could be picking up fish out of a stream and flying off with it, then maybe you should do something with those toes and get something.
The angle grinder out, something, whatever you got to do to. Well, I suppose if you put a point on them, then that would be easier to stab the fish with.
Probably so. Yeah, but it's just kind of gross for everybody else, and like I said, especially you Walmart people. I mean. Just stop it. Put some socks on over it. You might ruin the socks, but anyway, National Flip Flop Day. So don't forget wear your favorite flip flops today. So what's been going on? How was your weekend?
Oh well, it was. I was still recovering from the old man injury of screwing up my tendon. So finally, my Achilles heel doing great. I'm back to normal. I did too much work outside yesterday, but on Monday I get to do this on occasion for a senior center that hires me to come in and do presentations on whatever the holiday might be. So obviously it was on the 4th of, oh no, wait, it was Memorial Day.
We get our holidays
looking at me strange. Yeah. I had the wrong one. So
I thought it was Arbor Day.
The origins of Memorial Day, and I enjoy doing them because there's always something I find that I didn't know. For instance, I did another bit on the oldest medal awarded to service members, and it's the Purple Heart.
Ah, see, I didn't know that either.
It started as a little cloth heart patch, kind of out of purple material of a sort, and in the middle of it they stitched merit. And they only know 3 people. That's all that they've seen of these, and there was stuff written about it. But the book that had how many people got them or where it was recorded was lost like a while back, just 200 years ago.
Oh, well, at least it wasn't the library in Alexandria. I mean, it could have been a lot worse. But yeah,
that's always fun. I enjoy doing that and it's not usually a big crowd. It varies. But a lot of them may not have family immediate in the area, that they're somewhere else. And so they're kind of stuck at the senior center until everything goes back to normal on Tuesday, as it were.
Yeah.
So I enjoy being called to say, hey, could you do this? And sometimes they'll send some of the stuff. One of them I used, one of them I didn't. One, oh, bless her loving heart. She sent it to me and I went, oh, the Purple Heart. Okay. And I started reading it and I went, this is the Purple Heart flower. This is not the Purple Heart medal. There is no heart shape to the Purple Heart flower, by the way. And all the questions, I went, oh, good, it's got a bunch of questions, were all about different flowers. I'm going, this ain't what you thought this was.
My ignorance is showing. He didn't even know there was a Purple Heart flower. So
neither did I.
Okay.
So it's like,
no
reading
idea.
it is going, this ain't gonna work. So I had to find my own presentation and found a really good one. It was quite interesting, and knowing that was the first honor that was made up or given to enlisted men.
Okay.
They didn't have anything prior to that. And when General Washington came up with it, it was getting close to the end of the war, which had been dragging on. It was 6 years of this.
Oh, wow.
And the British thought they were going to be home the first Christmas.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Not so much. They were kind of arrogant. And then the French came and helped, or we'd have been in a world of hurt.
Well, we were kind of ragtag. We really didn't have anything that was organized all that well back then. So, I mean, I could understand why the British would think that this would be a slam dunk for them. But
yeah, and then we got a hold of the French and said, hey, could you come over and help us? Who are you fighting? You're fighting the British? Yep, we'll be there tomorrow. Hold my wine.
Yeah, hold my Cabernet. We'll be right there. Yeah, I think there's still tension between France and Britain. So
yeah, they have not liked each other in forevers ago.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was kind of a fun thing to do. It's usually somewhere around 50 minutes to an hour.
Okay.
And it's a one-man show. And I have my computer hooked up to their big, I think it's a 70-inch TV or something. And then you got to crank it. We can't hear it. Crank it up and then you do this. Jeez. Plug your ears. So,
well, the thing about a one-man show with you is that you got 7 or 8 more in your head anyway. So, I mean, it all works.
There's always leftovers that are in there on stuff. Yeah. So it's fun. I enjoy doing that for them because it's, it's a holiday thing and it's probably to some of them just another day, but it's a different activity to go to.
Well, the bad thing is that a lot of these people who live in nursing homes don't have a lot of visitors. Sometimes the kids, I think we've talked about this before, the kids just leading their own lives. And partially I get that, but man, you got to make time for these people. I mean, they were there for you the whole time you were growing up. You need to go visit, even if they're not all with it. I mean, I think Jill still visits with Joe. So I don't understand why, Jill Biden, Dr. Jill, she's very busy, but she still visits with her husband sometimes, even though he may not remember who she is. But I think it's important to do that. Speaking of Uncle Joe,
do we have some? Speaking of Joe, Joe and Jill went up the hill. Anyway,
yes.
Do we? And by the time he got to the top, he forgot what he was fetching, so it didn't matter anyhow.
It didn't even have the bucket anymore. Yeah.
Don't you have some words of wisdom for us? Because I would love to hear some of those.
I do. He was a busy man this week. We had actually 5 or 6. I had to whittle it down to 2 because we are clip machines this week. We've got a lot of clips to go through. But here's our first one. We like to start off with some wisdom of the week from our Commander-in-Chief.
My administration is working around the clock to free the remaining hostages, just as we have freed hostages already. And here with us today is Hirsch Goldberg Poland, and still, he is not here with us, but he's still being held by Hamas.
Here with us today is Hirsch Goldberg, which was not there. That was the only part I actually understood, and that was a gaffe. But yeah. So anyway, that's your Commander-in-Chief. Yeah. Very inspiring. Like I said, he's been a gaffe machine this week. Here is another one.
I say to every young man thinking of getting married, marrying a family of 5 or more daughters. I did. My wife's the oldest of 5 sisters. You know why? One of them will always love you. Not the same one. One of them will always be on your side. That's the biggest advantage of marrying into 5 daughters.
Okay.
What? What?
Partially, I understood that, but I don't understand the premise. You marry into a family of 5 daughters, and one of them is always going to love you. Okay. Yeah.
I didn't know he was Mormon. I thought he was Catholic. But
Uh,
okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, and I miss our Irish guy.
Oh, I know. I forgot to put him in there. Oh gosh. Well, I don't have him up, so forget it.
Those were Uncle Joe's wisdom of the week. There, does that help a little?
It does. It sounds just like him. Uncle Joe's been on the lips since it's an election year. Uncle Joe's been on the lips of a lot of people. Stand-up comedians are just as much. It seems like. Remember when 4 years ago when Trump got elected, it seems like all the stand-up comedians were just hammering on Trump and he couldn't say anything right. Now the tables have kind of turned a little bit. There's a stand-up comic. His name is Jimmy Fallon. He put together a song based after the Eagles song Lion Eyes. And this is actually pretty good here.
I got my education for real in the black church.
I got raised in the black church.
I was sort of raised in the Puerto Rican community.
I had a close relationship with the Greek community. I am Joe Bidenopoulos. You all think I'm kidding.
White House girls send Biden to bed early.
I don't know about you, but I'm going to go to bed.
Because he's really old and he's senile.
I taught at the University of Pennsylvania for 4 years.
He makes up so much crap, the country's worried.
Okay, you're not going to get COVID if you have these
He's
vaccinations.
lying like it's going out of style.
I have the great honor of being arrested on the streets of Soweto.
Can't hide Joe Biden's lies.
I am a hard coal miner.
For a while, they made Sonky try.
I used to drive a tractor trailer.
Thought by now they'd realize
And I used to teach the Second Amendment in law school.
there ain't no way to hide Joe Biden's lies.
You have my word. I give you my word. I give you my word.
I guarantee you, give you my word as a Biden. I give you my word as a Biden.
I give you my word as a Biden. I give you my word as a Biden. I give you my word as a Biden. I give you my word as a Biden. But it's just a bunch of lies.
That was pretty good. Oh, some of those I had
Give you
forgotten
my word.
about.
I don't think if you gave me your word, I would have to ask for change back.
If I asked him what
Because-
the weather was, I would check it myself. Yes, absolutely.
It's like, no. No. And he's been that way for 50 years.
He has.
It's not just recent.
Yep. Yeah, he's always been just fast and loose with the truth. He doesn't really seem to care about it. Can you
Well,
imagine?
back in the old days, before we had a lot of internet going on, it was tough to try and figure out, but they still were fact checking and going, no, you didn't.
Yeah. Oh, back in the 80s, remember when he was running for president against Reagan, when he was running in the primary? Yeah, they caught him on those lies. That was Dan Rather, I think it was, that caught him in that whole thing. So
Back
yeah.
when they were actually pretending to be reporters.
They were actually journalists. Yeah, they were
Journalists,
actually.
yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. One more thing, and a lot of the AOC and a lot of the media were criticizing Trump for having a rally in the South Bronx. Turned out that it was pretty good. I think it was. Did you see it was 30,000 people? I saw 25.
Yeah, I've heard both numbers, 25 to 30,000. They thought there might be 35, but I think it's been revised 25 to 30, something in that range. It was massive amounts of people in this little park that they didn't expect.
No. I think they only expected a couple thousand. I think even Trump's team only expected a couple of thousand because it's a very blue area.
Oh, yeah.
And so AOC even said that. She mentioned every borough except Staten Island, which from watching Blue Bloods so much, we know that Staten Island has always been a kind of a red area of New York City. But yeah, she was like, it's always going to be blue. It's always going to be blue. They're not going to support him.
He's not welcome here.
There's a big sea of red hats out there. It's like, wow. And they had reporters out there talking to a handful of people in the crowd. And here's how some of that went.
We absolutely must take our country back. And look at this crowd of people, a diverse group of people. But what ties us all together is our love of country. And we have so many people here that escaped from communist countries. I'm a descendant of slaves. My people fought so hard They fought in World War II, even when they had no more rights. My father was a drill instructor in the United States Marine Corps during the Korean War era. I have to stand up for my country. This is a beautiful and great country, and we have to stand up and save it right now.
All right, yeah.
Go for America.
Let's go.
We must. We must. Yes.
Hey, I came from Vietnam. I feel like I'm backed into it now. With Biden, we got to get rid of him. We can't turn into communism. Why is this happening? This is a scary country right now, and it used to be so great. Bring Trump back.
I didn't know Vietnam accents sounded like Bronx accents, but I mean,
Think she's not been in Vietnam for quite a while here.
been a
Yeah,
couple-
you need to. We're not doing that anymore.
it's been a couple
okay?
of years, but I go back quite often. Yeah, it's very,
Well, she's got her coffee and.
but even everybody did. If you saw the video, you could tell that these people were who they said they were. But it's interesting. I think the first lady was said she was in another video from the Dominican Republic, and she was just saying that this is turning into a dictatorship, and this is not what we want. So.
But yet, that's what some of these Hollywood elitists are saying is going to happen with Trump. They said that the last time too,
Oh yeah,
and it didn't happen.
yeah.
We'll never get him out of office now. He'll be there forever. This will be our dictator.
Mhm.
No, we have our dictator currently,
I've got-
and his name is Obama.
That's right. We're up against a break, but when we come back, we're going to hear from another gaffe machine named Kathy Hochul. She has just said nothing but dumb things lately, and just like you were saying, Robert De Niro had some interesting commentary on who Trump is. So I mean, who would know better? Hey, forget about it. So anyway, hang in there. We'll be right back.
I'm Charmaine Davies, and every week my guilty pleasure is tuning in to the podcast Stay Off My Lawn. It's funny, it's informative, and the guys that present it are just fabulous. So make sure you tune in every week to Stay Off My Lawn and make it your guilty pleasure too.
Peppermint adds to your fun. Tackle's fun for everyone. Tackle freshness, smoothness too. You will love it, millions do. Makes your mouth feel fresh and clean. After meals and in between. Tackle mint adds to your fun. Double mint chewing gum.
You will love the double fresh taste and double smooth chewing goodness of Double Mint gum. That's why we say that chewing Double Mint doubles the pleasure of everything you do. So remember, Double Mint
Adds to your fun.
it's fun.
Double pleasure all in one. So delicious, great to chew. Treat yourself and your friends too. Tastes so good and lasts so long. Get some soon, you can't go wrong. Double mint adds to your fun. Double mint chewing gum.
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 2, and we're going to jump back into the thing about Trump and the Bronx rally that he had. 25,000 people disagreed with Kathy Hochul, who came out and had her own commentary, which she somehow, for every time she opens her mouth, she puts her foot in it. And I think she's got those talons like we were talking about with the flip flop.
Walmart
Yeah,
flip-flops.
I bet her feet are ugly. It's just a guess. Anyway, here's Kathy Hochul, the governor of New York.
Well, I'll tell you, it won't make a difference at all, Jake, and that is for Donald Trump to be the ringleader of and invite all his clowns to a place like the Bronx. New York will never, ever support Donald Trump for president. We know him better than anyone, and that means we understand what he's all about is just for himself. So this state will go solidly behind Joe Biden for president, as it has in the past. So he wants to spend his time doing these made-up fake rallies and pretending their support here. Be my guest, because while you're doing that, Donald Trump, Joe Biden's out there on the other side, making sure he's delivering for all Americans. And so go ahead, spend all your time you want in New York, because we'll be with Joe Biden, and Joe Biden's out there winning over the rest of the battleground states.
Not the polls I've seen, but I mean,
No, I think there's only one was Michigan that he was up. Everything else, he's having his proverbial posterior handed to
yes,
him.
yes.
There, is that a proper
no,
way
that
of
was
saying
was pretty good, and it's all alliterative too, which is a bonus. But I think even in Michigan, everything fell between the margin of error, which is plus or minus 3, and so it's kind of a toss up. Michigan is right now, but she's just when she used the word clowns, a lot of people jumped all over that, and I couldn't agree more. Speaking of clowns, though, Robert De Niro was out in front of. was out in front of.
I thought for a minute you were going to go to Krusty, but you didn't. So that's
Krusty
okay.
the Clown. I could have. We need that clip. Robert De Niro was outside the courthouse in New York where the Trump trial was going on yesterday. I just pulled this clip this morning, and the funny thing is, if you watch this video as he's walking up, he's got this big crowd of people behind him. He's the only one wearing a mask outside. Oh my gosh.
I know. I saw that. I went, tell me you're a bleeding heart liberal without saying you're a bleeding heart liberal.
Exactly.
Oh,
you're just projecting it right off the bat. Anyway, this is his forget about it moment from yesterday.
And elections, forget about it. That's over. That's done. If he gets in, I can tell you right now, he will never leave. He will never leave. You know that. He will never leave. What does that mean? Is that the country we want to live in? Do we want him running this country and saying, I'm not leaving, I'm dictator for life? This is not a threat. This is a reality. And that's why I've joined the Biden-Harris campaign, because the only way to preserve our freedoms and hold on to our humanity is to vote for Joe Biden for president. Really, we don't have a choice.
I don't know whether that was a commentary on his on his speech. Somebody over there honking the horn, or somebody was actually breaking into a car right nearby. It could have been.
I don't know what I heard something on another toward the end of his stuff, and there was a lot more car horns. They wanted nothing to do with them. No. There was hardly anybody there listening to this.
Oh, it's just a handful. It looked like a Biden rally, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, like your typical Biden rally. I saw one where Biden rally, they had chairs set up in this, not a very big room either. It was rather small, and they couldn't even fill all the chairs, and there was only about 200 or something.
And you saw
it was pathetic.
Some of the camera angles, you could tell that they strategically placed them that way. It didn't look like there was empty chairs. But yeah, it's pretty sad. But we saw a lot of that in 2020. Also, we saw the Biden rallies didn't have hardly anybody there, and the Trump rallies had like 50,000 people, and he still ended up losing the election if you believe all the ballots harvesting and stuff. I mean,
yeah. Well, and the one thing for whatever reason, this almost went right on by me. But if you remember right, during the 2020 election, how many of the mainstream media were constantly pounding on, this is the most secure election. You believe us, right? Right. Yeah. This is the most secure, right? Wink, wink. It's the most secure. Honest. We're not pulling your leg, man. I mean, this is it.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I went, wait a minute, we heard that over and over. It didn't matter what station. They all said the same thing. And I went, they're trying to get you to believe it because they know it was not secure at all. No. They know damn good and well things were phony.
They did the same thing about COVID. They kind of hit the same message over and over and over again. And that's how propaganda works. They hit you with the same type of information over and over. And even if you were presented with the facts, it wouldn't change your mind because it's been so ingrained in you that you are not going to believe anything else.
It's just really sad to see that somebody says, oh, you watching Fox News? I went, no, I prefer to watch C-SPAN. I want to see what actually happened.
Right.
And then I don't go as often as I used to, but I still go to MSN to check on some of their headlines and stuff. Wow. Yeah. Howdy do they turn? You would have think Trump was going to be hung next week. I mean, it's not just he's going to jail. They're preparing. CBS says they're preparing for what they need to do to put him. It's not going to be. This trial is an absolute joke.
Yep. And MSNBC has the lowest ratings of any news channel out there. And as a matter of fact, I think it was last week, CNN has their lowest ratings in 40 years. And I think that's when they started, was 40 years ago, was it not? Or was it?
Yeah, it was something. Yeah, when they started
it's probably because nobody heard of them
Communist
40
News
years
Network
ago.
or whatever they're calling it
Yeah,
nowadays.
back then it was the Clinton News Network.
Clinton News Network. Yeah, correct. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, their propaganda machine. A lot of people are turning away, and I'm with you. I think it's been months since I've watched anything on Fox News. I like seeing clips from committee, like you said on C-SPAN, committee hearing meetings, and the different things that the congressmen and Senate are asking other people, Mayorkas or whatever, and that's normally where we get our clips from. Is it those kind of interchange or interactions? So.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm kind of with you. Don't believe everything Fox. Don't believe hardly anything Fox says if you don't want to. But certainly just check it out. If MSNBC tells you something, it's sort of like going to church, man. You just never know. That preacher may be telling you something completely different. Double check what he's telling you, because a lot of times, especially these TV preachers, you gotta double check, and it's the same in politics. You got to double check whatever these people are telling you. So
yeah. I just don't understand. Oh, I did. Oh, I almost forgot about that. I saw an article talking about local news stations and whatever were having a real tough time. Their news stuff was what was helping support a lot of their other activities on the advertising for local stuff.
Yeah.
And they're having trouble finding advertisers. They're having trouble just keeping the doors open and keeping reporters, because they can't afford to pay them, because nobody's watching anymore.
And that's what they've done that to themselves. And I believe all this started with COVID, because it's like, and I've said this 100 times in our small group, we laugh about it, but it's like, if you made it a drinking game to where every time they mentioned COVID during a half-hour news program, the whole country would be dead. I mean, if you just took a shot of tequila every time they said COVID, everybody be dead. Yeah, I mean, it was because of that propaganda machine, and not to say that not to say that COVID was fake, but I think a lot of everything that went along with it was fake. So I mean, you couldn't believe the numbers they were telling you. You couldn't believe that everything, the treatments that they were pushing worked. I mean, but they kept pushing and pushing and pushing, and there's still people today that believe all that stuff. Robert De Niro walking around with a mask outside. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Well.
Anyway, the Senate is looking for new leadership because Senator Mitch McConnell has decided to retire. The rhino of rhinos. Anyway, there's Senator John Thune from South Dakota, a pseudo-Republican or a rhino, whatever you want to call him. John Cornyn from Texas announced his ambition to succeed McConnell. He's actually a rhino too, and you wouldn't think Texas would put a rhino in office, but they do. And I've got my opinion on this. Mitch McConnell has been kind of holding the purse strings as far as the GOP goes, and if you don't play ball with the way Mitch McConnell thinks you should, then you didn't get funding, and when you outspend your opponent 5-1, then you win your primaries, and that's how we ended up with all these rhinos in the House and the Senate. But Rick Scott's a good choice. He's a little bit of a mumbler himself, which kind of drives me a little crazy. But he is a very much a conservative. He's an ex-governor of Florida. He did a good job down there, and of course, hopefully he's the one who gets the votes. But we'll have to wait and see. It depends on maybe the GOP leadership in the GOP itself might have something to say about all that. I don't know how that.
Well, there's new leadership in the GOP.
Oh, that's true.
So the gal that was in charge was a flaming rhino.
Gosh.
And she has been removed.
I remember when Harmeet Dillon ran against her in the last election, and I thought she was an easy winner because she's smart. She has conservative viewpoints, and it looked like she had a lot of support among the GOP elitists anyway. But man, she got trounced by what was her name? Who was the one that won? I can't think of her name off the top of my head.
I can
see her.
The picture of her. I don't remember her name, but every time she was talking, it's like, are you a Democrat or Republican? Because that sounds like what the Democrats are saying.
Yeah, she sure did. She sure did. But Harmeet Dillon, hopefully we hear back from her again. She's a lawyer. She's very, very smart. Those are the kind of people we need in leadership. But you know, it is what it is. America is just we keep burning it down. So we'll have to wait and see. The leftist media has asked this question of every Republican lately that they get a chance to interview about accepting election results. I saw a video where Ted Cruz was asked about this.
Oh,
and,
I saw that. Yeah. He just flat turned that around. No, it's a yes or no. No, it's not.
Yeah. And we're going to hear from Megyn Kelly later. It's like, you know, two people that I would not want to be on the opposite side of and try to have some gotcha moments. It would be Ted Cruz and Megyn Kelly, because both those people have I think you mentioned it in the promo. They got their ducks in a row. They know their subject matter. They've studied it. And you didn't. Or
that's right.
Even if you did.
And if you go, oh, they're just making that up, go ahead and look up some of the facts that they talk about, because they're dead on. I've looked them up on more than one occasion and go, okay. Yeah. They don't say it unless they know it.
Absolutely. Well, Marco Rubio was asked on CNN recently, and he had the same kind of answer.
Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter what happens, Senator?
No matter what happens? No, if it's an unfair election, I think it's going to be contested by either side.
Senator, no matter who wins.
I think you're asking the wrong person. The Democrats are the ones that have opposed every Republican victory since 2000. Every single one.
No Democrat has refused to concede.
This was 2000.
If Al Gore won that election, I think he won Hayward.
You know it, I know it, they know it. We won that election.
And the only way they could win the election was to stop the voting in Florida.
This was 2004.
Troubling evidence of the fact that not every vote was being counted.
Legitimate concerns over the integrity of our elections.
The right to vote has been stolen from qualified voters.
This was 2016.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee. And you can have the election stolen from you.
There is a cloud of illegitimacy around the election of Donald Trump.
And this was 2018.
If Stacey Abrams doesn't win in Georgia, they stole it.
Without voter suppression, Stacey Abrams would be the governor of Georgia.
I love it when Kamala puts on her Southern accent. She'll be the governor of Georgia, like she just finished watching Gone with the Wind.
I swear she's going to have a case of the vapors. Oh my.
I'm clutching my pearls. I can't believe she didn't win. Oh my gosh. But anyway, so if anybody tries to tell you that it's a new thing to challenge the election results, remember all that, because that started in 2000. Remember with the whole
24 years ago,
the hanging Chad and the whole thing.
Oh yeah. It's like, no, it was. And Hillary was upset because basically she'd been told, you're going to be the next president.
Yeah.
And she didn't win.
Yeah.
They didn't cheat hard enough, because they still had things where they shut stuff down at 3:00 in the morning. Stuff. There is records of it, people. I'm not making things up, but it wasn't enough.
Yep. It was not
people
enough.
People don't like her.
And that's why they figured it out by 2022, and by 2020, I'm sorry. And then so they got enough for Uncle Joe to get in there. They just knew they had to step up their game. It's the only thing that makes sense.
Well, when you have the mainstream media propaganda machine keeps telling you this is the most secure, you believe us, right? Because we're telling you again and again and again, don't matter what channel you're on, it's the most secure.
Yeah.
When they start doing that is when you go,
Again, we've learned from watching the mainstream media that they will tell you whatever they've been told to tell you, and it's propaganda. Again, I hate to keep coming back to that word, but that's exactly what it is. Growing up in the 60s and 70s, we understood that that's what Russia did to their people, and that's exactly what they're doing here. Exactly.
And what the little mustache man did a lot of.
Yes, he did. He worked on that for years. He started that in 33. And all that crap didn't come to fruition until 39. So anyway, we're up against another break. When we come back, we're going to hear from James Comey, which he supposedly has some wisdom in his coffer somewhere. I haven't found it, but it's in there somewhere. So hang in there. We'll be right back.
Stay tuned for more of the stay off my lawn, but you know the thing. Anyway,
They'll be right back.
Sometimes you need a big boost to get through your day. So grab a flavored extra strength 5-hour energy shot. It's packed with a big energy blend in a small bottle. Really, that's the only thing small about it. Take a flavored 5-hour energy shot and wake the up.
Hi, welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 3. We are halfway done, so if you're on the edge of your seat, then enjoy. You're probably one or two of you. Anyway, we've got,
What? We're still doing stuff? I'm sorry.
I hate to wake you up. It bothers me to do that to you. I know you don't get enough sleep as it is. The pre-election fear-mongering is continuing. The former FBI director James Comey was on MSNBC, and poor guy, he's afraid of what Trump's going to do. The crocodile tears were a-flowing.
Are you concerned that it may get a test unlike any other if Donald Trump is reelected? I mean, when you think about a second Trump administration, what do you think the implications would be for the FBI?
Oh, serious for the Justice Department and the FBI, because Trump is coming for those institutions. He knows their power, and I think he has regrets that he didn't work hard enough to corrupt them last time. So he's coming for them, and that's a danger for all Americans. He's going to put people in positions in those organizations. He didn't have all-stars the last time. He'll have the bottom of the barrel this time, but people who will want to do his will, and that should worry every American. This election matters. Because of a reason like that, people have to participate. You cannot sit on the sideline. I don't care how you feel about Joe Biden. You must vote for him because the consequences on the other side are too severe.
I do have to agree with him on one aspect, is that his cabinet, Trump's cabinet, was terrible. Absolutely terrible. He had a handful of good ones, but for the most part, they were awful. So hopefully he's learned his lesson on that. And it's like like with what De Niro said, if he's going to treat it like a dictatorship as soon as he gets in there, why didn't he do that the first 4 years?
Yeah, this is what they're doing is they're saying, here's what he's going to do. Yeah. They can't say, well, here's what he did the last time he was president. Because they got nothing. They can't.
Nothing. That's exactly right.
What he did for the country. And people are going, yeah, that country was way better. Yep. And what Joe's doing, you got to vote for him. Are you kidding me? We can't pay for groceries now.
It was awful. We had 1.9% inflation rate. The gas prices were $1.85. It was just, I'm clutching my pearls again.
Well, Joe said, you inherited some of the best economic ever in the United States, ever.
This is why I firmly believe that part of the whole thing with COVID was planned, because in 2019, this country was hitting on all cylinders. Things were just going so well. The stock market was up, inflation was up, people had discretionary income. I mean, it was just...
Inflation was down.
And I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Inflation was 1.9%. So, I mean, if They couldn't let that go because he would have cruised to re-election, no doubt. Even if you didn't like the guy, and like I said, he's not my type of guy. But man,
not my cup of tea. But I want him running our country like a business, like it should be.
Absolutely, and it worked, and hopefully other people.
Oh, boy, did it.
On the GOP is taking notes of the way he did things, and will in the future, because there will be no Trump in the future. Hopefully they'll figure that out and play hardball with some of our people overseas too, and not take no crap, which I think has been too much. Anyway, we've beaten that dead horse. Bill Maher. Which, I mean, he said some good things. I know a lot of Republicans have been kind of falling all over themselves with drool, saying, "Oh, we've got a liberal on our side now." He's really not. He still hates Trump. He still hates a lot of the things that we love as conservatives. But he does say some common sense things. I'll give him that. He's been interviewed a lot, it seems like on every channel lately, because his opinions don't always line up with the Democratic talking points. This one here,
he still likes to make up facts.
He does. Well, I mean, he's got his own version of facts. And again, He's told himself enough to where he believes in himself. But here he subtly puts Joy Behar in her place on The View, which I thought was really, really good.
So, but I'm nervous about saying anything against Biden because I feel, not that I have so much power, and you have some more than I do, obviously. But
I don't know about that.
Are you afraid that you might, influence people who are on the fence?
I think you lose all credibility. I do. I mean, my bond with my audience has always been I don't pull a punch.
Yeah.
My bond with my audience is you're not going to like everything I say, but I'm saying what I really think is true.
And I believe that is true. He's wrong a lot, but he's right sometimes too. He's right on the whole Title IX thing. He's right on a lot of stuff. So anyway, Greg Gutfeld, who's on Fox News, I happen to see this clip. He was invited on there, and he hit why we are so divided, which is actually pretty good too.
Like, we are polarized. I don't think we can deny that. The point is that we can also be friends. That's it. We can't. Let's not pretend that these disagreements are not profound. Let's just say, okay, they are profound, but you know what? There's 90 other things we could talk about which we wouldn't disagree on. And I can't hate you. I've said it a million times. You can hate Trump. You can't hate all the people who like him. It's half the country.
Yeah.
And I'm certainly not blind to Donald Trump's faults. I get it, why people choose to vote for him. Somebody who's conservative once said to me, what you liberals don't get about Trump is that we don't like him either. We just see him as a bulwark against the nonsense on the left. And I understand that because there is a lot of nonsense on the left.
And again, I totally agree what he had to say there. So
yeah, I just saw a speech of him talking about how do we say this without getting kicked off with it? Child-loving adults.
Oh, them people. Yeah.
Is that a
MAPs,
good way of putting it?
MAPs, minor attracted people, I think is what they like to call it.
Yeah, we'll leave it at that because that's the term.
Yeah.
And he was just ripping them new up, down, and Disney's screwing stuff up again, and they just don't get it. And it was like, whoa.
Yep.
So he was on our side the way you and I both feel about it. And it's like, what? This is Bill Maher, right?
Oh, I know.
Joe Maher or Harry Maher. No, it's Bill Maher.
Up until a couple of years
I watched
ago.
it and went, holy mollies.
And he's even said that up to a couple of years ago. He's even, he's been the talking points of the whole Democratic Party, but he's even said that the Democratic Party has moved so far left now, especially with all the swimwear with tuckable stuff and the men in the women's restrooms and the men in women's sports. And, so he's still a liberal, but he has some common sense about him too. I don't laud him for what he has to say, but I mean, for the most part, when somebody's right, you got to give him credit. So
yeah, did you have some more? I'm sorry.
No, you're good. We had we got a little bit more about Bill. We talked about election denial from the far left earlier, and this is where Bill needs to do a little bit more research before speaking. I've got a little bit of a longer clip here, but here he is on Megyn Kelly's show. Who, by the way, probably, like I said before, she's one of the most intellectually intimidating people in the media today, trying to say that Hillary never challenged the election. And it didn't turn out too well.
I don't know what could possibly be more fundamental to you or anyone than you have to concede elections. And he hasn't conceded the last one. He's plainly not going to concede this one. He now has all of his sycophants around him parroting his party line, which is when they ask them, will you abide by the election results? Yes, if it's a free and fair election, which is another way of saying if we win. You really think this is a place this country should be?
I'm not going to defend the election denialism. I'm not one of those people who
But
believes
what's more
that.
important? What kind of country do we have?
How about my daughter not going into a locker room and seeing a man's penis?
That's important too. I'm talking about the difference between this and something fundamental, which is our democracy. The fact that you have to respect who wins an election, or else you don't have the kind of country we've always had before.
How about...
I feel like we keep going around the Roseberry bush about this, and we're not going to make any progress, so let's stop talking about it. But
I mean, you keep saying sort of I'm nuts because I don't see the difference between the elephant and the mouse. And I'm telling you, I identify them differently than you do. Hillary Clinton, of course, is the original election denier. I'm sure you voted for her in 2016.
Well, she's not an election denier.
She absolutely was the OG election denier.
First of all, she came out before the sun had risen to concede the election to Trump.
And then spent the next 4 years saying he was illegitimate. He was an illegitimate president.
Okay, well, first of all, she didn't say he was an illegitimate.
Yes, she did.
You tell me exactly what she said.
She said those exact words repeatedly.
Okay. I mean, you only get two choices.
That's right.
You get Donald Trump, a criminal election denier who is going to transform this country into an authoritarian place like we've never seen before, or you get Joe Biden with all his flaws.
Also
and
a criminal.
problems. Okay. What is his crime again?
Special counsel Robert Hur said he'd committed felonies, but he wouldn't indict him because he was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory. He couldn't get a conviction in front of a jury.
And what was that crime? That was the
classified documents all over his basement, his garage, everywhere.
Well, okay. Here's the difference. Immediately, Biden, he shouldn't have had them. Immediately, he said, "Oh, sorry, my bad," and gave them back.
That's why he
Trump
didn't get
said,
charged with obstruction. But Trump has two classified documents, pieces to his case. One is you had them, and the second is you obstructed justice when we demanded them back. So, okay, against Biden, you don't get charged with obstruction. But number one, where's the classified documents charged against him? He's also a felon.
You got your story. I look.
Why can't the difference be one actually had the ability to declassify documents and keep them because he'd been the president, and one didn't because he should have been looking at documents only in a skiff while a sitting U.S. senator.
That's the
point. Clearly he stole classified documents that he wasn't entitled to and never had the ability to declassify them.
Yeah. Maybe you know more about that than I do. I don't remember that part of it, and I always don't trust anything I hear until I vet it from the other side, because everybody sort of has their one-sided view of it, and narrative is more important than truth. I know this is the right-wing narrative. I'm
not like that, Bill. I care about facts. I practiced law for 10 years. I want to get the cases right more than I want to get clicks. And I have a lot of lefties who watch me. So I'm not like that. All I can tell you is those are the facts.
That's where Bill kind of joins the whole liberal. Well, you've got your version of facts, and you'll spew whatever you need to spew in order to get your point across. No, I don't think Megyn Kelly's like that. I don't think a lot of the conservative media is like that.
And there's sometimes I don't care for the way that she's doing a story. She's
right.
I mean, this is a lawyer who's been on news media channels, and she's not on any of them. She's independent. She has her own podcast that she does essentially the same thing that she used to do on. She does get a little rank in her speech from time to time when she gets vociferous in her actions. But
it's the word of the day, by the way.
If she, what's that?
The word of the day is vociferous. Just so you know. Anyway. Ding, ding, ding. You win 1,000 stay off my lawn points. Anyway.
Ding, 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 ding. So if she doesn't know, she's not going to say, I know.
Yeah.
But when she knows, she just kept, it's like, no, this is fact. Well, it's like, no, this is fact.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, you may know more about that. Apparently she does, because your facts don't match up with the actual truth.
Exactly. And even in my personal life, if somebody expounds on something I know they don't know anything about, then they've lost all credibility with me, and I don't listen to anything they have to say, because you can't trust what they have to say. So the media is the same way. If they say that, well, and I appreciate Bill saying that, well, maybe you know more about that than I do. Of course, then he goes back to his old narrative saying, well, that's
you have your story.
And
no.
So I know. If you forgot,
no, she didn't say that. She said it over and over and over again.
And we have
he tried to say, oh, she didn't. No, she did.
We've got those clips, as a matter of fact. Here's Hillary, the OG, the original gangster of election denialism. Here she is.
I believe he knows he's an illegitimate president. He knows. Trump knows he's an illegitimate president who got illegitimate foreign help. We need numbers overwhelming so Trump can't sneak or steal his way to victory.
You can run the best campaign. You can even become the nominee, and you can have the election stolen from you.
I do think that he knows that he's an illegitimate president.
Yeah. Yeah, she never said that. Yeah.
But she never, no, that's all made up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, and that's the thing. It's like, I think these people forget that we have YouTube and we have, well, maybe not YouTube, but we have things have been recorded everywhere.
There you go.
And you can find these clips. I mean, if you look hard enough, and I spend probably a good hour doing research on all our weekly shows, sometimes a little bit longer, but it doesn't take that long is what my point is. It doesn't take that long. And then of course, Richard does his part of it and sends me the clips. And so we collaborate on this, and it's all out there. If
it's there to find. All you got to do is just look and pay attention. And some days I spend too much time looking at the stuff.
Me too.
And the wife will ask something like, "What do you want?" She goes, "You've been looking too much at the news stuff, haven't you?"
You've been listening to politics too much today.
Because I'm just so freaking sick with that. Anyway,
take a step away. It's going to be okay. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about what Bill O'Reilly had a good question on Chris Cuomo's show on Newsmax, I think it was. Good answer. So hang in there. We will be right back.
This is the Stay Off My Lawn show and podcast. The grumpy old men you know and love. We'll be right back.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba,
please be done.
Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Stay Off My Lawn, segment 4. It's almost over. We're probably going to go over on this one, but that's the way it goes. I mean, we're not answerable to you. Anyway,
you're not my mommy.
Exactly
anyway,
I'm eating this. I'm having an extra cookie. We were talking about off the air during the break there that. Trump was the only one out of him and Biden that could actually magically declassify everything, but just by waving his hand over the pile of documents and saying, they're declassified.
All the stuff that Biden had was top secret stuff that should never have been. And he said it was all in cabinets that were locked or could be locked. That's and yet there was a stack of 3 boxes in his garage next to his furnace next to his vet that he had out there. That's a pile. And then on top of all that, I'm wound up now. And then on top of all of that, you had Jack Smith, right? Yeah. You had him. They lied. They took pictures of the documents when they picked them up from Trump's house, and they laid on top of them all these things that said top secret and classified. And no, none of those papers were there in any of the documents that were picked up. They made them up, and it looked like they got just boxes and boxes and boxes of stuff. Some of those boxes had 8 papers in them.
There was nothing.
There was nothing in the box. It just had to be labeled, and it's got to go on a separate box. And that's all that was in it, was a handful of stuff.
I think those cover sheets are supposed to be with any classified documents, but they brought those cover sheets with them. The FBI did.
Yes, and they put them on top of papers that they had strewn about on his carpet to take pictures of, see, we're in his house, this is a fancy carpet, and here's the...
Yeah, no. Okay. We're going to talk about that raid in Mar-a-Lago here in just a second. We've heard these questions quite often. What can Trump do right away to reverse the financial dumpster fire that we have going on? Bill O'Reilly took a call. It was a call in on Chris Cuomo's show over on Newsmax. So here is that exchange. Oh, maybe not. Hello?
You said that Donald Trump would govern better financially versus Joe Biden. I'm assuming you're implying that you're implying to inflation. But would you agree that inflation is a global thing and that is due to supply chains being shut down during COVID?
No. And I never imply anything, Stefania, ever. I always just say it. So you are paying 48% more for gasoline since Donald Trump left office. You are paying 23% more for groceries. And if you go out to a restaurant, more than that. That has nothing to do with Lithuania or France or Niger or Thailand. It has to do with regulations that the Biden administration slapped on the fossil fuel industry and others, which drove up the cost of doing business and then slowed down the supply line and hurt the farmers and across the board. That's why all Americans are paying more for the essentials of life. Donald Trump will remove almost all regulations. So therefore, just by that action, the people will get some relief.
Yeah. So, I mean, at least Trump has a plan. I know Bill O'Reilly knows Trump. So, I mean, that sounds like a good plan to me.
Yeah, and beat around the bush. And no. If there's anything that's always been consistent
with Bill O'Reilly,
he pretty much, there it is.
Yep.
And if you don't like it, tough, because that's what it is.
Punch you right in the face. It's sort of like we were talking about with Megyn Kelly. Same way. It's like, you may not like what I got to say. And Bill Maher has said the same thing. You may not like it, but this is the facts. We were talking just
some of his facts are
sometimes
wishy-washy.
Sometimes at least it's his honest opinion, even if his opinion is way off the board. We were just talking about the classified documents that were in possession of both Trump and Biden, and of course only one had the power to declassify. But Biden was only a senator and a vice president. There's no way he had that kind of. The only way a vice president can declassify documents is that if he classified them to begin with, and everything that he had did not fall in that category. But the raid on Mar-a-Lago had an interesting line item in that paperwork, and was specifically approved by Merrick Garland, and that's what Merrick Garland said himself.
There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter.
The order, according to a court filing, contained a policy statement regarding the use of deadly force, which stated, for example, law enforcement officers of the DOJ may use deadly force when necessary. According to the filing, the DOJ and FBI agents plan to bring standard issue weapons, ammo, handcuffs, and medium and large size bolt cutters. But they were also instructed, according to the filing, to wear unmarked polo or collared shirts and to keep law enforcement equipment concealed.
That's kind of suspicious, is it not? I mean,
why, there's nothing hanky about that at all.
It didn't have anything to do with maybe Trump had, a Secret Service with him. I mean, why would they think that it's going to go off the rails? Now, that some are trying to defend this line item by saying it's boilerplate. All of them have this on there. I'd be very curious to see if Biden's search warrant had the same thing. I don't think they were. It seems like the video I saw, they were all wearing the FBI vest and the whole thing, and I didn't see any guns. I didn't see any of that. But maybe I'm wrong.
Okay, I'm going to say probably not.
Yeah, probably not. Especially when the DOJ works for you, Uncle Joe. If you don't remember, you're the president. Anyway.
But I love all the talking points of the Democrats are virtually all the same. Here's what he's going to do. Yeah. He didn't do that the first 4 years. Why would he do it now? They can't say anything about, when he was president, this was caused and that. They can't go on his record because it's pretty phenomenal. Am I best friends with him? Probably wouldn't be. But I don't care. I want my country run responsibly, and that's what he did, and they don't like it.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. We do know that because CNN admitted to it that the investigation into Biden's documents told a different story than what Uncle Joe was telling, which... Why are we never surprised at this? Poor Uncle Joe. He just doesn't know any better than to lie. I mean, like I said, I think we were talking about off the air. I wouldn't ask him what time it is. So anyway, here's how that all was different.
President Biden said that he stored the documents in filing cabinets that could be locked.
All the stuff that was in my home was in filing cabinets that were either locked or able to be locked.
Just not true, John. This report from the special counsel includes photos of a box just sitting in President Biden's Delaware garage. And that open, unsealed, damaged box included, according to the special counsel, highly sensitive, top secret material about the war in Afghanistan.
Another claim, none of the documents were highly classified.
None of it was high classified. Didn't have any of that red stuff on it. You know what I mean? Around the corners.
Also not true, John. The special counsel's report says that the president possessed multiple highly classified documents that were indeed marked as being highly classified documents, including some marked as top secret /SCI, one of which contains highly sensitive info about military programs and another that contains info about sensitive intelligence and sources and methods. They were clearly marked as highly classified. Biden's own handwritten notes from his time as vice president also contained highly classified info.
And then the third claim, he did not share classified information with a ghostwriter on a book he was working on.
I did not share classified information with my ghostwriter. I did not.
The special counsel did say that explicitly. Mr. Biden shared information, including some classified information from those notebooks with his ghostwriter. So there it is in black and white.
What's more remarkable to me is that this is from CNN.
Well, here's something else that they just conveniently have been leaving out a lot. There was a Chinese person stayed in that house that had the box out by the vet for something like, a week or something, was invited over or whatever, and was...
Hunter was there,
Yeah, Hunter was there, and they had close ties to Xi Jinping, whatever his name. Yeah, him. They don't say that. They don't mention that at all. No. This was highly classified stuff in this box, and had about the war and stuff. All the. You don't think the Chinese would chew that up?
Absolutely. I mean, that's a treasure trove for them.
Heavens!
Yeah. So, but yeah, you're not going to hear much about that. Unfortunately,
no, that's just conveniently not mentioned anymore. Wait a minute.
Well, hopefully there'll be something that will come out eventually. But, maybe when Trump gets into office, which he disappointed me, if he gets into office, he disappointed me when he got into office last time. He said that the first thing he was going to do, one of the first things he was going to do is bring charges against Hillary for bleach bidding her home electronics, deleting 33,000 emails and the whole thing, because there was so much corruption going on in the Clinton house up there in New York that, but he didn't do it. It was the last thing that was one of the first things he said he wasn't going to do that he promised to do. I hope this time he goes after Uncle Joe, even if it's posthumously, and says, this whole thing is got to be changed.
It's not right. It's not right.
It ain't
it's
right,
not
man.
right.
It ain't right, man. We've been talking about the CBDC, the central bank digital currency, recently. Probably in the last 6 months, you and I brought it up 4 or 5 times, and how it can be used to control the population. We did have a video from China where people were talking about how their social scoring allowed them to have more freedoms. The more you play ball the way the government wants you to, the more benefits or freedoms you get. Well, that's what we're afraid is going to happen here if the central bank digital currency goes through. But finally, the House of Representatives have found the testosterone somehow to pass a bill to pass a bill about this, because they are the low T GOP. They passed a bill about this, which I'm very happy about. Here's Congressman Tom Emmer explaining what this bill is all about.
This week, House Republicans, as Blake just said, are going to take action to safeguard our American values by passing my bill, the CBDC, or the Central Bank Digital Currency Anti-Surveillance State Act. With this legislation, we're going to stop unelected bureaucrats in the Biden administration from using a central bank digital currency, again, a CBDC, that threatens to destroy the American way of life. Unlike decentralized digital assets such as Bitcoin, CBDCs are a digital form of sovereign currency designed, issued, and monitored by the federal government. In short, a CBDC is a government-controlled, programmable money that, if not designed to be just like cash, open, permissionless, and private with a capital P, it not only could, it will give the federal government significant transaction level data on individuals and the ability to suppress politically unpopular activity. We've already seen examples of foreign governments weaponizing their financial system against their citizens. In China, the Communist Party actually has the digital yuan that is being used to monitor its citizens, and they are building social scores.
Yep. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about. It's you can't just say this is in theory now because they were actually putting it in practice in China. Of course, seems like Biden.
Yeah, it's not made up at all, and I'm glad that the samples of the same stuff that Doug Flutie pushes showed up on the same week. That's kind of nice when those help them out.
Yeah, them things.
Hey, I don't even remember the name of the product. I don't care, but I just
remember
thought,
either.
Wow, their T level was up this week.
Yeah,
that's why the samples showed up.
But and as it should be. I mean, you need, because they've been so mamby-pamby. My God, I mean, it's like these people are old enough to know that what people with principle, what they sound like and what they do. For goodness sake, I mean, we've been doing this for 250 years in this country. Why in the world all of a sudden now we're sitting back and letting things go? I don't know. But
yeah, why are unelected bureaucrats telling us what to do? That's not we the people, that's them the government. It's like, it's not what it says, people. It's just that old piece of paper that we don't need to follow that anymore.
That reminds me.
You kind of do, because when you start going away from it, things go to hell in a handbasket. Absolutely. And this ain't good.
You were talking to me off the air about the WHO in Louisiana. You want to
yes.
overview that?
They just passed in Louisiana, where the United Nations, World Economic Forum, and the World Health Organization, anything that they give edicts on, Louisiana does not have to abide by. They are not our rulers, and I don't care who signed over their stuff. Louisiana says we ain't doing it, and it's starting to show up in other legislators.
I hope that's true. I hope that they're on the tip of the spear of all this stuff, and hopefully Missouri's been very good about this kind of thing. And Florida's been good. Hopefully Georgia and Texas and Idaho, all of them will start following suit on a lot of this, because we don't need the WHO to tell us what to do on the next pandemic, because they got one in the works. So
in between that and the Convention of States that, oh man, I want to say it's like right close to 20, something like that. And if you don't know what a Convention of States is, look it up. It has to do with, they don't have to, they are essentially doing an end around for Congress because they're not doing anything. It's Convention of States get together and they make a law and decide it, and that is the law. And they can make a amendment to the Constitution then that has to be ratified by 30. Right now, I think it's 34 states.
Oh boy!
Don't hold me to that. It's somewhere in through there. So there's some stuff in the works where America's had enough of this garbage. So
it seems like a step towards secession, is what it seems like to me. But anyway, but it is positive, and we always try to end on positive. But we do have one more positive thing. This is a Paul Harvey rest of the story about how America got to where this was in the 60s, you had said, right? When you first saw this? Yeah. So here's Paul Harvey and the rest of the story. It's actually an abbreviated version, so enjoy.
How come, after thousands of years of experiment, our new nation has come so far so fast? All this in less than 200 years. What is the secret of our success? Well, I think it had to do with a basic American's creed. Perhaps it never passed the pioneer's lips in this form, but if it had, I think he would have said something like this: I believe in my God, in my country, and in myself. I know that sounds like a trite, too simple thing to say, and yet it's a rare man today who will dare to stand up and say, I believe in my God and my country and in myself, and in that order. Well, sir, when that early pioneer turned his eyes toward the West, he didn't demand that somebody else look after him. He didn't demand a free education. He didn't demand a guaranteed rocking chair at eventide. He didn't demand that somebody else take care of him if he got ill or got old. There was an old-fashioned philosophy in those days that a man was supposed to provide for his own and for his own future. He didn't demand a maximum amount of money for a minimum amount of work. Nor did he expect pay for no work at all. Come to think of it, he didn't demand anything. That hard-handed pioneer just looked out there at the rolling plains, stretching away to the tall green mountains, and then lifted his eyes to the blue skies and said, "Thank you, God. Now I can take it from here."
You know, you don't hear too many politicians or even any men, like he said, anymore here saying those kind of things. So it's good stuff.
It's very prophetic and is quite the way that it is today. I mean, we were talking about these poor farmers are getting their butts kicked by these bureaucrats and this climate garbage.
Yeah.
And that's not right. Farmers work their tail off. I grew up on a farm with my grandfather and working there in the summers, and I loved every minute of it. They were long, hard days. It's sweaty and hot work, and they're trying to do things to help feed others and have enough left over for them. Rich by no means. But with all the fires, many people don't know this, that happened down in Texas and Oklahoma here not too long ago. I got to see a video of truckload after truckload after truckload of farmers that said, "I've got a surplus of hay. You guys need to still feed these cattle that were out roaming in this grassland and helping fertilize it with the cow leftovers and such." They're helping their fellow farmers out and ranchers out with stuff to feed the cows with. That's what America's about.
Yeah. That's a sense of community among farmers and ranchers. Absolutely. That we don't see in small towns or even big cities, especially big cities in America. You know, I kind of keep to myself in my subdivision. I don't really go around, but you know, I've got a couple of neighbors. If they ever called me, they needed something, of course I would help. But for the most part, I don't even know a lot of my neighbors. So
yeah, I live out in the country, and somebody, it wasn't the cows because they can't get a hold of the gate, lift it up and pull it in because it's not the way it's made to go.
It's hard for them to get their cell phones out and call you either.
Somebody let them out. I only had a couple of stairs out there at the time, and they got out and were just walking down a gravel road, which just got paved this last week. It's been gravel the whole time we've lived here in 17 years. But they were going down the road. Across from the other side of the road was a full field of alfalfa. If they would have got into that fresh, raw alfalfa that hasn't been cut and dried, they will bloat.
Oh, yeah.
And it can kill them. So they're not cheap to have. Well, somebody saw them and they herded them over where they had some. It's a gentleman who used to live there. I don't know who's there now, but he raised quarter horses and trained them. And he said he just put them in a pen and came over and talked to the wife. She goes, "Yes, they're not out in the pasture." So they just took them in. The next morning was going to be a Saturday. I got home really late from working. I went over there. They were already getting them loaded into a trailer and brought them over to my house, which was like, they were 3/4 of a mile away.
Yeah.
Wasn't that far, but he fed them and watered them that night. He didn't have to do that.
Of course. But that's what good people do, you know?
Yep.
So, you know, there's some hope out there. Absolutely. Yep. So anyway, we hope you were somewhat informed and had fun like we did. Don't forget, you can find us on iTunes, Spotify, iHeart, Amazon smart speakers, YouTube sometimes, and Rumble. So
Yeah, we're all over the place. Or you can just go to our website at stayoffmylawn.us for all our past and present episodes.
We'll see you next week, folks.
Thanks for listening, folks. Totals. Well, we had fun and hope you did too. The opinions heard here today are not those of anyone other than Mike and Richard. If it made you laugh or go, or even, then we've done our job. Sort of. Mostly anyway. And if we made you think about things in a common sense manner, we welcome you to the club. And if it didn't, then just stay off my lawn. See you next time.